I never knew how good our songs were until I heard Ella Fitzgerald sing them, Ira Gershwin once said. Ira and his brother George created hundreds of songs between 1924 and 1937. 8 of those songs composed Ella sings Gershwin. The songs were never intended to be featured on an album together. In fact, the songs were created for different musicals that the Gershwin brothers made in the 1920s and 30s. In 1950, Ira employed Ella Fitzgerald to sing the old song. Fitzgerald breathed new life and meaning into them. While the lyrics stayed the same, the music in Ella Sings Gershwin was changed to only a piano, played by Ellis Larkins. Despite their fragmented beginning, the songs flow well together. Ella Fitzgerald was an American jazz singer. She started gaining recognition for her talent in her late teens. Eventually, she would be known as First Lady of Song. She's considered to be one of the greatest jazz singers and enjoyed a 56-year-long singing career. Put simply, Ella Sings Gershwin expresses Fitzgerald's girlhood dream to love and be loved. The innocence of her desires are reflected in the simple metaphors found throughout the album. In the slow ballad Someone to Watch Over Me, Fitzgerald is portrayed as a little lost lamb in need of a shepherd to watch over her. Further showing the youthful yearning of Fitzgerald is looking for a boy. In this upbeat song, she sings, "I am just a little girl who's looking for a little boy." In I've Got a Crush on You, Fitzgerald confesses to her honey the feelings she's developed for him. The word crush is a deliberately childlike word. It shows the simple and youthful attraction she has. She even refers to her crush as her Romeo, an obvious allusion to Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Romeo has now come to represent a young male lover. If he is Romeo, then that makes Fitzgerald his Juliet. In other words, young, innocent, and passionate. The album also illustrates Fitzgerald's romantic awakening. In How Long Has This Been Going On, passion has snuck up on her. She's made delirious by her lover. He gives her chills and thrills. Her lover's kiss is irresistible. Fitzgerald describes her enthusiasm for her lover as tantamount to the excitement Columbus felt when he arrived on the shores of a new world. Such a metaphor reveals the unfamiliar yet enjoyable experience of a first love. Despite its youthful feel, Ella Sings Gershwin is not about Fitzgerald's desire for a quick fling. No, Fitzgerald's goal is for a flourishing love affair to blossom into a marriage. In My One and Only, Fitzgerald says that she knows a clergyman who will grow lyrical and make us one. The final song on the album describes Fitzgerald in an engagement period where she waits for the day two hearts as one will be blended. Throughout simple metaphors and piano jazz, Ella Sings Gershwin chronicles a young girl's search for love. Ella Sings Gershwin was well received by many audiences. The Gershwin brothers were already a popular duo and Ella Fitzgerald was a rising star, rendering Ella Sings Gershwin a heaven-made match. Everything about this album speaks to the young romantic. It details the sadness of unrequited love, the squirmish butterfly feelings of a crush, the excitement of affection returned, and the satisfaction after finding the one. It is impossible for a girl to listen to this album and not be moved to think about the special man in her life. Fitzgerald's voice, coupled with the music of the Gershwin brothers, captures the intense emotions that come with young love. Critic Will Friedwald says, "She's vulnerable on Someone to Watch Over Me, pouty and diffident on My One and Only, inquisitive and introspective on How Long Has This Been Going On, and coy and playful on I've Got a Crush on You." The simplicity of the lyrics and music makes this a timeless album that resonates with all young girls experiencing their first love. Jazz historian Stuart Nicholson commented on her youthful voice, saying her voice seemed virginal and unsullied, speaking not of empty beds and unrequited love, but of the modest hopes of pubescent romance. Why was a then 33-year-old twice-married woman performing as if she was a 15-year-old maiden? Here's why. The 1950s was still years before the sexual revolution. Sexual liberation was not yet in the lexicon of American culture, and promiscuity, especially in women, was shunned. Abstaining from sexual relations prior to marriage was the norm. Therefore, Ella Sings Gershwin was a timely work for a generation of girls gushing over their first love and dreaming of their wedding day. While the United States was plagued by racism, Fitzgerald released an album dripping with romance that all women, regardless of race, could connect to. Norman Granz, Fitzgerald's white manager, saw jazz as a means to achieve racial integration. He viewed jazz as something all Americans could enjoy and hoped Ella Sings Gershwin's irresistibly catchy lyrics and tunes was a way for young Americans to unite. But also, it was a way for Fitzgerald to reimagine how media portrays black women. In Ella Sings Gershwin, Fitzgerald defies two stereotypes about black women, the Jezebel and the Mammy stereotypes, portrayed black women as either nymphomaniacs or undesirable. As a larger black woman, it would have been easy for Fitzgerald to be seen in a desexualized or maternal way. Fitzgerald transcends this by making a romance album despite her size. On the other hand, is the view of black women as Jezebels who only live to please men. Compared to other female performers at her time, Ella's voice, image, and body was never the site of sexual fantasy, Nicholson says. Now, this doesn't mean that Fitzgerald was viewed as a mammy. Rather, in Ella Sings Gershwin, Fitzgerald navigates her love life with class, elegance, and poise. She's feminine. She knows when to be vulnerable and when to be confident. The grandeur of the piano makes it feel like a fairy tale, but rather than waiting for her Prince Charming, she sets out to look for him. She grabs the Jezebel and mammy stereotypes and defies them. Fitzgerald has been compared to Billie Holiday her entire career. Jazz critics Francis Davis says it is virtually impossible to listen to one without hearing the other. Many agree that Fitzgerald had a much more joyful persona compared to Holiday. Compared with Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald has always sounded girlish and untroubled, even in old age. Her renditions of songs reveal nothing about herself except for the obvious joy she takes in singing, Davis said. This adolescent enthusiasm is certainly seen in Ella Sings Gershwin, as Fitzgerald innocently sings as if she's never been hurt by love before. Ella Sings Gershwin was released during a time when Americans were writhing from the pain caused by racism. Working with Norman Granz, the Gershwin brothers, and Ellis Larkin, Ella Fitzgerald refurbished old songs and gave them new meaning. Simple lyrics, a sturdy voice, and piano came together to express the deep emotions a young girl feels on her quest to love and be loved. Fitzgerald did this all while knocking down racial stereotypes and connecting young girls of all races to her music. Considering this, it's no wonder why Ira Gershwin once said, "I never knew how good our songs were until I heard Ella Fitzgerald sing them."